At the pinnacle of fame, Burt Lancaster was an unassailable monument of Hollywood. Burt Lancaster, the epitome of masculinity in Hollywood, concealed a secret for 50 years. In his final years, in a shocking confession, Burt Lancaster pulled back the velvet curtain, revealing a truth no one could have anticipated. It was not merely a tale of secret same-sex romances with some of Hollywood's most celebrated male stars, names that alone would leave the world breathless. More chilling still, Burt's confession was not a nostalgic love song. It was a warning. Brace yourself, for the revelation will utterly transform how you view the brightest stars in Hollywood's firmament. From Harlem streets to the circus. Burton Stephen Lancaster, born on 2 November 1913 in Harlem, New York, began life on an uneven path. Raised in a poor working-class family, young Burt quickly displayed remarkable resilience and an unyielding free spirit. Rather than being confined to books, he found his calling in physical pursuits. Sports, and particularly the circus, became his first stage. Blessed with a natural athleticism, Burt swiftly rose to become a talented acrobat. His years performing with traveling circus troupes forged the Burt Lancaster the world would come to know. A man with astonishing control over his body, fearless, and possessing a magnetic pull that captivated audiences. These were not merely performance skills, they were where he learned to confront danger, push beyond his limits, and tell stories through his physicality. This foundation shaped his unmistakable on-screen persona, an action star who performed his own daring stunts with a grace and power no stunt double could replicate. Burt Lancaster's conquest of Hollywood. In the 1940s, Hollywood discovered Burt Lancaster. With his striking height, chiseled masculine features, and expressive blue eyes, he was the ideal archetype for heroic leading roles that audiences craved. His performance in the classic film noir The Killers, 1946, catapulted him to stardom overnight. But Burt refused to be merely a handsome face. He yearned to be recognized as a true artist. This ambition drove him to take a revolutionary step for the time. Alongside two friends, he founded the independent production company Hecht Hill Lancaster. This was a bold challenge to the all-powerful studio system, where actors were often little more than hired hands bound by restrictive contracts. Burt sought creative control, the freedom to choose stories with depth, projects that not only entertained, but also touched the hearts and minds of audiences. His vision paid off handsomely. His company produced Marty, 1955, a simple yet poignant film that unexpectedly won the Oscar for Best Picture. Films like From Here to Eternity, 1953, with its iconic beach kiss scene and his Oscar-winning performances in Elmer Gantry, 1960, and Bergman of Alcatraz, 1962, cemented his status as one of the greatest actors of his generation. He didn't just act, he inhabited his characters, endowing them with complexity, depth, and vulnerability. The public facade, marriage and family. In the old Hollywood world, rife with unspoken rules and the pressure to maintain a flawless image, a lasting career demanded a perfect facade. For Burt Lancaster, a man harboring secrets that could have raised his career, the facade of marriage and family was not merely a choice but a vital stronghold, a prerequisite for survival. He constructed it meticulously through 3 marriages, crafting a public image of a model man, a devoted husband and father, in stark contrast to the tempestuous inner world he concealed. His first marriage was to June Ernst, a woman from the very world that shaped him, the vibrant and perilous realm of the circus. She was a talented trapeze artist, and they found each other through a shared passion for acrobatics and performance. Their romance was a convergence of youth, of 2 free spirits soaring through the air. Yet, the nomadic lifestyle, endless touring, and relentless financial pressures of the circus life wore down their relationship. Like a beautiful but fleeting performance, their marriage could not withstand the harsh realities of their world and ultimately came to an end. It was his second marriage, to Norma Anderson, that became the most robust cornerstone of Burt Lancaster's public image, lasting over 2 decades and giving him 5 children: Bill, James, Susan, Joanna, and Sile. This marriage painted the picture of a quintessential Hollywood family. Norma was not merely a wife supporting her husband's success. She was a woman with her own ideals and voice. A passionate social activist, she shared with Burt a deep commitment to social justice. One of the clearest testaments to this was when Burt and Norma hosted a major fundraising event at their Hollywood home for Martin Luther King Jr., just before the historic 1963 March on Washington. This act showed they were not just a couple in name, but true partners in principle. Together, they leveraged their fame and influence to fight for causes they believed in. Yet behind the doors of this seemingly idyllic family, cracks were growing. The immense pressure of fame, Burt's prolonged absences due to work, and most crucially, the inner turmoil he had to conceal, gradually drove them apart. Their divorce in 1969 was not just the end of a relationship, but the collapse of an emblem of familial bliss that the public had long admired. His final wife, Susan Martin, entered his life when his glory days were fading and his health was tinged by time. Their relationship was quieter, a safe haven after the storms of his past. Susan stood by his side, devotedly caring for him through his final years as he faced recurring heart troubles. She was his companion on the last leg of a legendary journey. In retrospect, Burt Lancaster's 3 marriages were not merely distinct chapters in his emotional life. They were carefully calculated pieces of a facade. A family man with beautiful wives and children was the safest image, the strongest shield against Hollywood's prying eyes and vicious whispers. But it was the very strength of this facade that allowed him to endure and, more importantly, gave him the space to conceal an entirely different world, a world of whispers in the shadows. The secret love life. When the stage lights dimmed and Hollywood's velvet curtain fell, a different Burt Lancaster emerged, one the world rarely glimpsed. This was not the muscular hero with a confident smile, but a complex soul, hiding his deepest secrets under the weight of an unforgiving era. Only in his final years, after tasting both glory and bitterness, did Burt dare to voice those shadowed whispers, painting an entirely new portrait of himself. A man who loved fiercely, passionately, and loved other men. To grasp the gravity of these secrets, we must return to Hollywood's golden age. It was a dazzling yet brutally rigid world, governed by strict moral codes. Homosexuality was not only taboo, but branded a disease, a stain that could destroy a star's career in an instant. Powerful studios would stop at nothing to protect their star's wholesome image, ruthlessly quashing any deviation. In this stifling climate, Burt Lancaster, like many others, lived a double life. One of the relationships he revealed was with another icon of masculinity, Cary Grant. It was a fleeting but profound connection between 2 kindred spirits, both forced to don the cloak of perfection while their hearts yearned for something else. They understood each other's burdens without needing many words. Perhaps the deepest and most tragic love was with Rock Hudson. Rock, Hollywood's golden boy and the epitome of masculine beauty, was the man every woman dreamed of. Yet behind that facade was a soul grappling with his own hidden truth. Burt and Rock found each other, forging a romantic bond nurtured in secret trips to secluded coastal retreats, where they could briefly escape the world's prying eyes. These were rare moments of freedom, where they could be their true selves. Burt always spoke of Rock with profound respect, and later, his voice carried a quiet sorrow when recalling him. Rock Hudson's tragic death from AIDS in 1985 struck a heavy blow to Hollywood's wall of silence, and it remained an indelible part of Burt's buried love story. Another surprising name was Ricky Nelson, the teen idol from the adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. Nearly 2 decades younger, Ricky met Burt in the early 1960s as he struggled to break free from his child star image. Burt became a mentor and protector to the young man teetering on the edge. He remembered Ricky with particular tenderness, describing him as a boy who sang like the breeze and kissed with the longing of someone never allowed to desire. With the sensitivity of a seasoned soul, Burt gently ended the relationship, believing Ricky needed time to find himself, both in his career and personal life. His relationship with Marlon Brando was an entirely different story, likened to a storm. Marlon, rebellious, impulsive, and unpredictable, embodied a new generation of actors. Burt, by contrast, carried the discipline and poise of classic Hollywood. This contrast sparked an intense attraction, a passionate flame with destructive potential. Burt once admitted that Marlon was the only person who could utterly captivate him with a single glance. Their romance blazed with fiery arguments and irresistible allure, but it was too chaotic to endure. Perhaps the most shocking and complex connection was with J. Edgar Hoover, the formidable FBI director. This was not merely a romantic liaison, but a relationship steeped in power, control, and secrecy. Hoover, who held Hollywood's secrets in his grip, was himself a deeply conflicted figure. Burt described him as a man craving intimacy, yet terrified of his own desires, imprisoned by his own authority. This relationship gave Burt a chilling, unique perspective on one of America's most enigmatic historical figures. Burt Lancaster's decision to share these stories late in life was not a bid for attention. It was a confession, an effort to free his soul after decades of concealment. These secrets do not diminish his towering legacy. On the contrary, they make him more human, more relatable, and more admirable. They reveal a Burt Lancaster who was not only a gifted actor but a man who dared to love, live with passion, and show courage, even at the risk of losing everything. He lived true to his heart, if only in the hushed whispers of the shadows. The legacy of a complex Burt Lancaster. On 20 October 1994, when Burt Lancaster took his final breath at the age of 80 following a heart attack, a glorious chapter of Hollywood came to a close. Per his wishes, no public memorial or funeral was held. His ashes were quietly scattered beneath a great oak in Westwood Memorial Park, dissolving into the earth like a silent farewell. But the passing of his physical form was never the end for a legend. On the contrary, it marked the moment when his legacy began to be seen in its full, complex, and profound light. Burt Lancaster's legacy cannot be measured solely by prestigious Oscars or iconic roles. Above all, it is the legacy of a rebel, an artist with a vision bold enough to challenge an entire system. At a time when major studios like MGM and Warner Bros. Held absolute power, turning actors into beautiful puppets bound by contracts, Burt did the unthinkable. He founded his own independent production company. Hectil Lancaster was not just a business, it was a declaration of artistic freedom. He proved that an actor need not be a product of the machine, but could be a creator, choosing and shaping the stories they wished to tell. The resounding success of Marty, a modest, heartfelt film that won the Oscar for Best Picture, stands as the most powerful testament to his vision and courage. His artistic legacy also lies in his relentless push beyond his own limits. Starting as a muscular hero with $1 million smile, he could have comfortably stayed within that safe mold, but he refused. He threw himself into complex, challenging, and deeply vulnerable roles. From the fallen boxer in The Killers, the charismatic conman in Elmer Gantry, to the introspective prisoner in Bergman of Alcatraz, or the middle-aged man facing collapse in The Swimmer, each role was a reinvention, convincingly showcasing that beneath his robust exterior lay a refined acting talent and remarkable sensitivity. He was not just a star, he was a true artist. Yet perhaps the most profound and haunting aspect of Burt Lancaster's legacy lies in the secrets he carried throughout his life. His late-life confessions about his same-sex relationships painted a new, more human, and more tragic portrait of him. They tore apart the one-dimensional image of a silver screen hero. revealing a man caught in a wrenching struggle between his true self and the persona the world expected. The stories of his secret romances with Cary Grant, Rock Hudson, or Marlon Brando do not diminish his legacy. Rather, they elevate his quiet courage. This was the courage of a man who dared to love and desire in a world ready to destroy him for those feelings. They reveal the vulnerability behind his strong facade, the loneliness amidst the heights of fame. His story became a voice for countless others of his era who had to love and live in fear, in the shadows. By sharing his truth in his final years, Burts sought not only personal liberation, but also, indirectly, wrote a vital chapter in social history, reminding us of the cost of silence and the importance of living authentically. Finally, his legacy as a social activist cannot be overlooked. In a Hollywood that often shied away from politics, Burt Lancaster fearlessly used his voice to fight for social justice. His and his second wife, Norma Anderson's staunch support for the civil rights movement, and Martin Luther King Jr., reflected a man of principle and deep compassion. He believed art could change the world, and he lived by that conviction. Looking back on his life, Burt Lancaster's legacy is a multifaceted canvas, vibrant yet tinged with somber hues. It is the story of a man who rose from poverty to conquer great heights, an artist who changed the rules of Hollywood, and a man who lived true to his heart, no matter the steep cost. He left us not only immortal films, but an inspiring tale of courage, human complexity, and the yearning to love and be one's true self fully. Burt Lancaster's story is truly complex and deeply moving. What do you think of these shocking revelations? Do these glimpses into his private life change how you view his legacy? And which of Burt Lancaster's films is your favorite? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy stories that unveil the secrets of great stars, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated with our upcoming videos. Thank you, and see you soon.